to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
Then I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. Ed, roll call?
Sandersfeld? Yes. Wiley?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Maher? Yes.
Okay, so the agenda is approved. Currently, we do not have any citizens' comments, so we'll move on to the approval of our minutes, claims, and financials. Ed or John, do you have anything to point out to us on the financials?
I had a couple of things before. Were you going to go through the report, Ed? Oh, okay. Okay, so you have the report in front of you. I was just just had a couple of things that might have stuck out to you if you were going through those. One is the Johnson Controls Service Agreement, and that's for all of our buildings. And just a point of clarification. It said for fire controls, and I have to do it that way. And that's actually for all of the controls at all of our buildings for HVAC, all of our heating and cooling. And so that's our annual service agreement. So it's just over $13,000. And then the other thing that I was going to point out to you was a bill from NWEA. NWEA is our MAPS assessment, and so that was that was about $13,000. That was our reading, our math, our science assessments for MAP for the year. So those were the two things that I saw.
Was there any questions from the board? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve our minutes, claims, and financials.
So moved. Second.
Ed, roll call?
Sandersfeld? Yes. Wiley?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
Okay, those are approved. Moving into our reports section, up first is our instructional reports. And our program tonight is from the Ag Education Program. So, Mr. Jones, do your students have something to share with us?
They got all kinds of stuff. Can I get on the board?
Oh yeah. Let me.
If I can figure it out. High school concept.
Yeah, I'll let go. It's CO.
Are you on yours, Mr. Henderson? Or
Yeah, I will drop off
No, are you on your Apple TV or are you on my Apple TV?
mine. CO Apple TV.
It's your. You bring it on.
Hey, you guys, that's on. So why don't
Okay.
you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, grab that. You can take it. You can take it off the mic stand. Yeah.
1040.
Yeah, just pull it out of there. Yep.
Says it is currently in use.
There you go.
1040. All right, you're in. You're the big show.
Oh, no, that's it.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Sheets, and I'm the FBEG president.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brandon Bender, and I am the vice president.
Hi guys, my name is Dalton Gardner. I'm just an FFA member.
Okay. To start off the year this year, we did Feed the Farmers, where we partnered up with Iowa corn growers, and I represented them up in Iowa along with Kendall and Houghton, and we got 100 meals from Hy-Vee and gave them to the farmers. We had a great turnout and gave all the meals away within like an hour and a half.
A little community event thing that we did this year to kind of give back was we had a clothing drive. We partnered up with the Fellowship Cup, and which was a really good thing for us and them. Got us involved with the community, and they got a whole bunch of clothes for people in need, so kind of worked out that way. And we went to a couple local businesses here in town. We went to Beck's, Lomont, Hearth and Home, and Farm Credit. And then here throughout the high school, teachers brought clothes and donated. As you can see in the picture, we had a really good turnout. So another thing we do every month is we have FFA meetings, and every FFA meeting we talk about all the stuff we went over that whole month and what we can improve on, what we can do better on and stuff. And then we also talk about things like what we can do next month and the following month to improve everything we've done. A couple other things we do during our FFA meetings, we like to have a little fun thing during them. So this year so far, in our just last meeting, we had a gingerbread house making competition, something to kind of have fun on, it was pretty fun. And we also did laser tag in one of them with Armory here in town. So Sergeant Van Tiger brought a trailer and we had an airsoft, or not airsoft, laser tag war. And then another meeting we also did, we played a game called Among Us. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but pretty much you have imposters and then like people that live within the town, and people in the town got to try to figure out who the imposters are. So it's just a fun game to kind of help like our communication skills and stuff like that. And we also had a cornhole tournament, which was also pretty fun.
Oh yes, I'll talk about the garden. So, some of you, if you pull back behind the school, you may have noticed that there is a chunk of that grass that's normally about yay tall that is now no longer yay tall. We were fortunate enough to be nominated by the Help Family, so some local farmers, for America's Farmers Grow Community Grant that we ended up being the recipients of, a $2,500 grant to essentially use for some kind of a project, whether it be better in the community or for education. So after talking with the kids, talking to Mr. Lichty, we kind of decided that a good thing for us to do would be to build a garden. So we began the process of building our FFA garden back here behind the school. I've been working with the Henry County Master Gardeners, and Chuck Albright has been helping us a lot with that garden. Getting it planned out. So we actually went ahead and the kids got it mowed, kind of cleaned up, pulled the stumps out. We got it tilled. The kids wanted to try growing some cover crop, so I got some cover crop donated to us. So they actually planted some oats and some winter wheat. That actually there are some emerged out there if you go take a look. So check that cover crop out. We've got some lumber being donated as well to build some raised gardens. So we'll get some raised gardens in there as well as some in-ground beds. We'll get it all fenced in, of course, because there's a million deer running around here. So we'll try and see if we can't keep them out of there. But I think this is going to be an awesome tool for the kids just to kind of use, whether it be for those kids who may not come from that more traditional ag background, have that hands-on opportunity, as well as just the chance for these kids to get to practice some different gardening techniques, do some different experiments, try some different mulching techniques, whatever that may be. That's the great thing about these kids. I can't rave enough about them, just that they're really driven and want to try a lot of different things. So I just pretty much leave it pretty open to them, and whatever they want to try out there, we'll see what we can't do. So yeah, we're very excited for that. Coming up this spring, we kind of had to get the ball rolling on it this fall already, though.
All right, so as you can see here, this is our latest hydroponic system, and it's known as an ebb and flow system. Some people know it as a flood and drain. In the room, we have a 30-gallon water tub that sits below it. And on the back, there's tubes that run in there. One's to run up and fill these trays. And each of these individual trays has holes in the bottom. And it soaks up into this, everything's planted in this rock wool. Because this entire system is soilless. And this rock wool will soak it up quite a bit. I can't even count how many times we've had to go out to the spigot and fill that 30-gallon tub. Haven't really had problems with it besides a user error one time. I just filled the system and I pulled it away from the tank too far, and a hose came disconnected, so we had about 15 gallons of water on the floor. Mr. Jones was not very happy. That was a mistake on my part, but over here, there's timers that tells the pump when to turn on and fill these trays, and then there's a timer on the lights as well. One interesting thing Mr. Jones taught us is the plants actually grow when it's dark out, which I did not know that. So those are set on timers, and let's see. I think Mr. Jones said you guys had already seen our first one that's in the room that had been brought out, but yeah, we have a whole tub of seeds, different stuff we want to plant, and these here are jalapenos, and this last week we tried something new. It's called pruning. These two were pruned, and these middle ones were not. The pruning basically cuts the flower off the top to keep it from going into the reproductive stage, and doing that brings all this energy. So cutting that off keeps the energy from growing up, and instead it expands outward. So as you can see, these leaves are much bigger than these ones here, because when we're trying to harvest these leaves, we're not looking for the flower. And so that was new. We planted some soybean, and we just gave a bag of lettuce to the office. The office ladies like to make salad out of it, but yeah, other than that, that's a new system. Works pretty good, and I think the entire class likes it. So, all right, what's the next one? Other classroom activities we do. This past week, we've been looking into microscopes, and we got this little slide we've been putting. We just got done with roots. We're looking at roots that have just been cut off and dead roots, and we have to graph the difference of what we see under the microscope. And it's actually really fascinating. We just, because at the end of the root, there's meristematic tissue, and that's basically a cluster of cells that is looking to expand outward and search to grow and look for more moisture, nutrients, and I mean, you can see in the microscope, and we had to graph that. We're just getting getting a good understanding of how all that works. But some other activities, looking under a microscope. What else? Oh yeah, the animal science class is learning about poultry. Now the competition, was that canceled?
What? Could be.
Was there supposed to be one?
Extravaganza. So what we got approved for, the last time you heard me talk, got postponed back until they're going to shoot for late March, early April is their hopes. The cattlemen are really pushing pretty hard to have it happen. They were pretty upset when it got postponed, as it was not their call. It was Iowa State made that call. So they're going to try and make it happen here.
Yeah, and then we actually did poultry judging. When was that? What month?
September.
In September. But we look forward to doing it this spring because it was really fun. A group of 4 of us did that here at the school. Yeah, there's poultry judging, and then the intro class is testing soil samples and looking at soil. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were looking under microscopes this week, and I would highly encourage kids to take agriculture classes. I really enjoyed it, and I know a lot of people are happy that FFA is back after being gone for so long. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, so now that we have discussed what we've kind of done throughout this year, in the spring we are planning to do a lot of community events, and along with leadership conferences and career development events where kids will go and can meet in different events, including like job interviews and stuff like that. We don't know if there's going to be a state convention yet, but if there is, we hope to participate in that. We hope there is one. And then we will be doing strawberry sales again for a fundraiser. So make sure you get strawberries when we do that. We already talked about building a garden that will hopefully start this spring. We are also doing a banquet and then hopefully beef extravaganza along with other. And then some new classes that are coming are animal science 2 and ag marketing. So we're excited for those two. Any questions?
I would have one question for the three of you. You did an excellent job presenting, but could you tell me some other skills besides ag that you feel you have gained by having the ag education program back?
I think Mr. Jones does a good job. He brings all of his kids together, and sometimes we kind of focus more on the team building and friendship, really. Just like the gingerbread, we all came together and we kind of stepped away from the classroom and we had a good, engaging, fun activity to do together. So I think we've learned how to build friendships and to work as a team. That's a skill set I feel like I've definitely improved in.
To build on top of that, I also agree that it helps build friendships and makes all our bonds a lot stronger together. But I also think communication skills are a huge thing that really helped us, because before I started taking ag classes, I wasn't much of a speaker. I hated speaking in front of anybody unless it was like my family or friends. But now that after taking Mr. Jones' classes, and we kind of stepped away from ag and decided that, hey, communication is like a big thing you're going to use for the rest of your life. Might as well use it. So that's a really big thing that I think helps me out a lot, was communication part.
Yeah, I agree with them that communication skills were definitely improved, because at the beginning of my high school, I didn't want to speak in front of everyone, and then I volunteered to do this tonight to speak to you guys. That definitely helped. Any other questions?
Thank you guys, great job.
Yeah, thank you.
We're gonna get this out of here and go set it back up in the classroom.
Sure.
We'll do real quick.
Just
Thank
make
you,
sure there's
guys.
no water dripped on the floor.
Yeah.
Ran into the library, into Mr. Schultz's room, all over the back of my room.
Thank you, guys.
You bet, thank you. Very nice.
Thank you, guys.
I bet your kids are staying.
They have not.
See, they were,
Figure if I get on them enough, they don't want to be publicly shamed.
hey, don't know
If it's Dalton, then yeah.
Don't know that you can do it.
Do what?
You owned your mistake. You stood up and owned your mistake.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
What it's all about.
Thank you. Up next, we will have the superintendent's report.
Okay.
So I wanted to start out with our weighted enrollment update. This has since been certified. Weighted enrollment, as most of you know, are special education programming. Students with special education goals, for school funding, every student is counted at 1.0, and there's a dollar amount that comes with 1.0 for the funding of the school. Students who have special education goals, because their programming is a little bit different, the weighting of students is just a little bit higher. So you can see there's 3 levels of weighting. It's 1.72. So that might be the easiest one to look at. So 1.0, you've got the 1.0, and then an additional 0.72 of the dollars per pupil is added to that for programming. So you've got 1.72, and then you've got students with some higher level of needs, so that's 2.21. So again, that would be an additional 1.21 of funding, and then you've got students with the highest level of need, and that's 3.74. So you can see from 18, 19, 19, 20, and then this year, 2021, the number of students that were 1.72, the number of students that are 2.21, and on down the line to the 3.74. So our total additional weighting was down just a little bit. 2 years ago it was 2.68, almost 2.69. A year ago it was 2.67.54, or 267.54, and then this year it was 260.82. So that's the additional weighting, the weighted funding. And that was certified with the Area Education Agency back in November, and then they have since certified that with the state. So that was weighted enrollment, and then in your packet you also have fiscal year 22 new money calculations. So we're currently in fiscal year 21. What will, after Christmas, after the first of the year, we'll start, Ed will start working and really looking deeper into the budgeting process for fiscal year 22. So again, as Ed has said many times, there are really two things that drive school funding. One of those things is enrollment, and then the other thing is state supplemental aid. That's the dollars per pupil that you receive. So the only way that funding for schools goes up is if your enrollment is increasing, and or you get additional state supplemental aid. So we know that for going into next year, so we certified our enrollment in October. We know that our enrollment was down 44 students, and so what we don't know for next year is what the state supplemental aid will be. That is set by the legislature. It's supposed to be one of the first things that they do when they come into session in January. So we'll look to see what they do there. But Ed has, the last two times that the Finance Committee has met, we've gone over these numbers. What might fiscal year 22 and even beyond, what might those years look like in terms of funding? So I asked Ed if he could go ahead and let's just share with the whole board kind of what the new money projections for next year and beyond might look like.
Okay, so in your packet, you have some documents there that I shared with the Finance Committee at their last meeting. The first one is the enrollment through 2019. This is actually a tool that the Iowa School Board Association puts out. But you can see about the middle of the page and to the right is Mount Pleasant. What our enrollment history has been for the last 5 years. This does not reflect the certified enrollment data that we just certified. It's not updated yet from the state, but you can see that in those 5 years we dropped about 90 students, 89.5 students. And the road just under that is the total number of students that are served. And what that does is it takes into account open enrollment, out students, open enrollment in students. And so that's why it differs from the certified enrollment count. But you can see we have dropped about 124 students in the last 5 years. And again, why this is so important is that, especially for the certified enrollment, is that our budget numbers from the state are based on that number. So it's very important. And as you can see, that we're in a downward trend right now, not unlike a lot of other school districts. The next page, again, it talks a little bit about open enrollment out. At the top part of the page, again, has the last year's history. In 2015, we had about 67 students open enroll out. Again, this is waiting. But for October of 2019, we had about 97. So we were actually down about, or up about 30 students that are open enrolling out. And of course, the money follows those students. So for each one of those students, if you take about $7,000 approximately, you can see that, again, we had more money outgoing because of that open enrollment out upward trend. The bottom part is the open enrollment in. Again, I bill districts that do send students into our district and are approved for open enrollment. But you can see that in October of 2015, we were about 130 students, and October of 2019, we were 130 students. So even though it's went up and down over those 5 years, we are basically steady as far as that goes. The next page, again, is talks more about open enrollment, but if you look at the bottom graph there, you can see that net open enrollment in and out expense. So again, it's netted with what we bring in, with what we give out. And in 2015, we had a plus of $403,000, but in October of 19, that was down to $228,000. So again, even though that doesn't really reflect in the certified enrollment, it does make a big difference in our finances because it's money that basically is coming into and going out of the district. If you have any questions at any time, let me know. But, the next page is, again, a projection tool we use from Iowa School Board Association. What this does is it shows what our basic our new money is. You can see what it has been for the past 4 years. And then it projects out 5 years based upon, again, variables that we input into the system. So if you look at estimated fiscal year 2022, which is about just to the right of the middle there, that column, you can see that it has been updated with our certified enrollment numbers. What I did was I just put in 1% for state aid, supplemental state aid. Again, this won't be set until probably March, April, hopefully before that, but again, it's just a guess. But you can see that with that 1%, we do go and have a $316,000, almost $317,000 budget guarantee. So that is to get us up to the actual 1% new money because we lost so many students over the year. So again, that $317,000 is essentially a burden on local property taxpayers. State passes that burden onto the local property taxpayers. What I did was I left, for the next 4 years, I left the projections in there as far as what the state is projecting that we have for budget enrollment. So that's where those numbers are coming from. And then I left the state aid again at 1%. So you can see clear down the money what our actual new money would be percent based on that scenario. The next page, what I did is I changed a few of the variables. As far as budget enrollment, I went down to, in the next 4 years, 1,850. So it's probably about 8 students, and then projecting or keeping that steady for the next 3 years after that, and then changing the supplemental state aid to 1.5% the next 2 years, and then 2% in the last 2 years. So again, you can see with the new money projections are for the district. Next year, again, in any of these scenarios, shows that we do have the budget guarantee of $317,000. And that could be changed if we get more than 1% state level growth, but, it's hard to make up for that larger loss of students. The next scenario is an increasing enrollment scenario. So what I did was I kept the supplemental state aid the same as the previous scenario, but what I did was I increased the enrollment for 15 students each year. After that, 1,850 in 2023, so it goes up 15 students in the next 3 years. Again, you can see what happens to the new money at the bottom. And then again, that is probably the most optimistic scenario.
It's the one we're going to do, Ed, as I stated in the finance, but that's the one we're going to do.
That's
We
one
can get
we're
rid of the rest of
looking
these sheets, because we're going to hit this one, Ed.
Are you passing a motion, Josh?
Yes, whatever we need to do.
I'll put that in there.
We're getting rid of these other 3 sheets, and sheet number 3 is the one we're looking at.
We'll just post this on the wall and say this is what we're working towards.
But just to be, realistic self, I guess, that last scenario does show a decrease of 15 students per year. Again, that is basically what we've been averaging for the past 5 years. It was like 18 student decrease, but I used 15 student decrease there, and again, kept the state aid. That's what I had in the previous 2 scenarios. So you can see it, our new money actually is 1% next year because of the 1% budget guarantee, but then it goes negative 1.3%, and it stays around 1% after that. So just some scenarios to get the board thinking about upcoming budget. Like John said, we will be working on the budget for the end of January, February, and presenting different scenarios to the finance committee and the board. Before April 15th is when we have to certify.
Any questions for Ed? I appreciate you going through those scenarios, Ed. As we mentioned, we've gone over that with the Finance Committee a couple of times, and as we look forward, we want to make sure that we're doing a good job of planning, and we want to, as Josh mentioned, we want to be able to increase revenue if we can. And again, that has to do with increasing enrollment and state supplemental aid. We need to also look at how we control our expenditures. So one of those things we need to look at in the near future, now and next year, because you really have to make your adjustments no later than the year that you're on the guarantee. That's why the budget guarantee is there. It gives you an opportunity, and yes, it puts that burden on the local property taxpayer, but it gives you that year of opportunity to make the adjustments in your expenditures that you need to do, so that you can stay in a good fiscal position going forward. So one of the things that the Finance Committee has recommended that we do from central office is take a look, and this is, I just mentioned it in your board committee notes. One of the tools that we have to use for controlling expenditures is early retirement, or an early retirement incentive. So the committee had asked and recommended that to go ahead and do a survey on it'd be an anonymous survey on staff members who might be interested if an early retirement incentive was put together. So we'll be gathering that information for you and get back to you on the results of that survey. So that's new money calculations, and then again, just make sure you have January 25th on your calendars for a board work session and a board development session with Harry Heiligenthal from IASB. So that's the superintendent's report.
Thank you, John. Up next is our board committee reports. You've got a summary of those in your packet. John, is there anything you'd like to point out from those?
I don't think so, other than what I already mentioned from Finance Committee, that just doing a survey on early retirement incentive well, I would mention also, we did talk a lot at Finance about the connection of some of the realtor websites, you know, the Zillow and the Realtor.com. So I've looked into that a little bit more because they all connect to a site called Great Schools, and they just import that data. And so I'm finding a little bit more out about Great Schools and how that works, and how you can claim your data, which I think we will want to do to make sure that we're getting the right data, and not that it's not the right data. It's just we want to make sure we've got good comparable data, because our data as a school district regionally compares very strongly and very well, if not higher, you know, than some of the regional school districts. So we want to make sure we can get that data out there in a way that's equitable with other school districts. And I would also mention that the last data that they have, that Great Schools has in there for reading, math, and science and proficiencies, is from 2017. And so it's pretty old. Yeah, it's old data. So anyway, we'll be looking into that a little bit more.
Did any of the committee members have anything they wanted to share from the meetings? Okay, if not, then we'll move on to other board communications. Does anybody want anything to share there? Okay, then we move on to our consent items for personnel and open enrollment, which are in your packet. Is there any questions concerning consent items? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve the personnel items and the open enrollments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Josh. Ed, roll call?
Sandersville?
Yes.
Wiley?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Roll?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Connor?
Yes.
Okay. So personnel and open enrollment are approved. We do not have any unfinished business at this time. So we'll move on to new business. Up first is the consideration to approve our consortium agreement with Mississippi Bend AEA for our remote learning through Edgenuity.
Okay. Yep. So this, as the board approved 2 weeks ago, to go with Edgenuity Incorporated as an online curriculum and instructional provider for the second semester. We've taken a number. Ms. Gowan and I have taken a number of steps to start walking that out. We've been in contact with Mississippi Bend AEA and Edgenuity a couple of times, and the Department of Education to talk through all of that. So this is the consortium agreement with Mississippi Bend. So our agreement is with Mississippi Bend. And Mississippi Bend's agreement is with Edgenuity. And the numbers are the same that we went through last time we met, as far as the amount per student for semester, or the amount for the courses. And the thing on that, and maybe you know, but I want to make sure I mention, is that we talked to Mississippi Bend. We will only be charged for the courses that are actually taken, that students actually take. So we're not purchasing seats. That so often in different programs you have to purchase a certain number of seats. Unfortunately, that's not how this agreement works. If you have 10 kids that take X number of courses, that's what you pay for. If you have 100 kids that take X number of courses, that's what you pay for. So that really is that's a good way, to put together that agreement. So I would recommend that you approve the consortium agreement with Mississippi Bend AEA.
Is there any questions concerning that?
The only alternative would be not to have Mississippi Bend, just go directly with Ingenuity.
Yep.
That's the only alternative to it.
Right. This because of the consortium and because of the number of students, it's a little bit cheaper to go through the consortium. I think the K-5 enrollments, Katie, what were they? Was it 1,600 or 1,700 instead of the 1,500?
It was 17, and then the high school was a few hundred more per class.
Per class.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
They would have added roughly $200 per kid for that, and the services are the same. It's not different. We don't get anything really different other than a cheaper cost. Everything will look the same and act the same. They won't have access to our or Mississippi Bend will have access to our students. They won't be providing teachers. They're just holding the contract.
Other questions?
Well, in their little formula here, they say school enrollment divided by total enrollment of the consortium multiplied by total cost of training. I assume that school enrollment of our students.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, it's not our enrollment.
Yeah, not the total enrollment of the school, right?
That just, and it had to be right before there.
Any other questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve our consortium agreement with Mississippi Bend's AEA.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Ed, roll call?
Sandersville? Yes. Wiley?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Pearl?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Bonner?
Yes.
Okay, that is approved. Next, we'll be looking at an agreement with Frontline Education for employee time and attendance records.
Okay, so this system is going to merge several of our front office systems together into one and really build some efficiencies. I'm going to let Ed talk a little bit, if you would, Ed, about how this really pulls things together.
Yes, right now our systems, because of the way that we had available to us in the past, we've had used about 3 different systems to pull our payroll information into our system, including leaves. We do have a time clock system that we pull time hours in that several of the groups worked. And what had to happen previously is that an employee would have to go into one system to enter their leave and another system to actually get a substitute for them. And what this is going to do is to pull a lot of things together so that we have one system and begin creating efficiencies, not just for our business office, but for our employees too, because of the way it's set up. Cindy and Tanya and I have done extensive research with other districts, not only in, mostly in Iowa, but also other states too, and it seems to work well. I've been talking to our tech department, Chris, and that we have everything in place. So again, we're excited about possibilities of the system.
way that I entered an absence that I knew was coming up, just because I thought a lot of AP and things like that. I usually had lined up my own sub and then told the system to call that person. So that I knew that they were thinking about it and that they would say yes, rather than just taking whoever was at the top of the pile. Is that still going to be an option for a teacher that knows that they've got somebody who
Right.
would be willing to step in and handle those classes?
Yeah, you still have the ability to prioritize your substitutes, as Cindy and Tanya are here, and if you have other questions, but yes, you can still prioritize your preferred substitute teacher.
That was huge
Yeah.
for the teacher.
Yeah. What this will do, if I understand it correctly, as Ed said, you had to go into one system and apply for leave, and then you had to go into the other system and then secure a substitute. So this will take us to one-stop shopping to do that.
So is this getting rid of two systems and making this one be two, or is this another on top of the two?
No, it's getting rid of one of the systems, and, you know, we still have, of course, our same payroll and accounting system, but again, this will allow us basically to incorporate the substitute better into the system.
So we still have two systems, but they just communicate better with each other.
Yeah, actually, we have like 3 systems now, so we'll be getting rid of one. So essentially, there is a little cost savings, but overall, it's about the same. And we hope to roll it out to several groups in the springtime. We'll start training after the first of the year, and then roll it out to the groups, and then have everyone be able to use the system after July 1st and do some training when he's come back.
Other questions? Okay, if not, then I would entertain a motion to approve our agreement with Frontline Education for our employee time and attendance system. Second? Okay. And roll call?
Sandersfeld? Yes. Wiley?
Yes?
Andrew?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
Okay, that is approved. Moving on, we're going to be opening up our school board policy series 500, which is student personnel.
Right, so I'll have any recommended first reading changes for you in January on the 500 series.
Up next is that we need to appoint someone to the Henry County Conference Board, and we have a volunteer.
Yes, Josh graciously.
Voluntold.
He graciously voluntold again this year. I will say, Josh, that Nathan Milks, I had run into him and we were talking about it, and he said, man, I really appreciated Josh. Took it very seriously, asked a lot of good questions, wanted to understand exactly what's happening. So you did such a good job, you can do it again this year.
Kind of helped we've done it.
Yeah.
Yep. We were also very quick to make that motion. So is there a motion to appoint Josh to the Henry County Conference Board?
I will make that motion.
All righty.
Thanks to Josh.
Thank you. Ed, roll call?
Sandersfeld? Yes. Wiley?
Yes?
Andrew?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Maher?
Yes.
Thank you, Josh. We appreciate your service.
You're welcome.
Up next is a consideration and action on a settlement agreement with a former employee.
Okay, so as the board members know, we had a former non-certified employee that we chose not to renew a contract with in May of 2019. So there was some, she had filed a wrongful termination suit, and we turned that over to our attorneys and our liability insurance attorneys, and they chose to settle the matter, and you have that settlement as part of your packet. I would just make mention again, as you guys know, this is the cost of the settlement is borne by the insurance company, and so that was their choice to move forward with it that way. So you have that in front of you. You have a motion in front of you, and I would recommend that you approve.
Is there any questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion.
So this was, I have a question. I know the answer, but if this was thrown out, the attorneys are just saying it's gonna be cheaper to do this settlement, even though we have back.
Yeah, that was their assessment, Josh. Yes, that they didn't want to, as I put in my notes to you guys, they didn't want to go through a long and protracted civil litigation that would cost them potentially more money. So yeah, that was their decision.
Even though civil rights, like, well, I mean, but we still proceed with it.
That was, yep, that was the attorneys involved, that was their recommendation.
So Chuck, you made the motion? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Add roll call?
Sandersville?
Yes.
Wiley?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Crow?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yeah.
Okay, that's approved. And that is the end of our agenda for the evening.
All right, very good. Thank you, everybody.
We are adjourned.